Good afternoon, good evening, good Zinta, good y'all, whatever it may be where you are. I'm Not Sports Cards. Hope you're doing well. Remember to like and subscribe. Every subscriber gets a new video. I keep doing them because you guys keep liking them. On this episode of Not Sports Cards, we are going to discuss the $400 million, and I'd say that again, the $400 million grading bill that we all combined got in the year of our Lord 2024. In the background here, I have some numbers up from the people at GemRate showing how many cards were graded last year. You can do, it's not a complicated math. Like, again, the 400 million, where do I come up with this number? Not complicated, right? We've got about 20 million, is it 20 million? 19 million cards graded, and we'll just say $21 per card graded, maybe a little high. I don't know, but it's about $400 million in grading fees. That's a lot of money. That's a spicy meatball. So what I want to do is discuss what the future of grading is, what we can expect in 2025, what these numbers mean, because I take notes for these podcasts because I try to be as entertaining as possible. But one note that I wrote down is that the GemRate numbers are treated like the CPI data on Wall Street. Like, this is some end all be all number of the leading indicator of the health of the card hobby. And I just think that's it's not entirely false, but I think it's overblown, right? I think people are too locked up in this number. If this number goes down, cards are going to zero, and if this number goes up, we're all going to be printing money. I don't think either of those things are true, and more likely than not, these numbers will be a mix of everything. So again, we'll look at the numbers here. We have about 20 million cards graded this year, 15 million by PSA, clearly the leader. And I've done videos before where I talk about not only are they clearly the leader in market. This is for sports. They were up 25% in sports this year, kind of crazy. And they were even on TCG. That's another thing, is that they actually were down on TCG because TCG includes non-sport, and non-sport was up. So, one place that PSA was actually down was they graded fewer TCG cards this year. How about that? And CGC was way up. So for those of the people who think, PSA is a runaway and has no true competitors, TCG is not half the market, but it's, of the 15 million cards, it's 40% of the market. It's the fastest way to grow. It's the fastest way to come in. But the thing I've mentioned in past videos is that, PSA's market share, I think there's a market share thing, overall 76%, but that assumes that PSA's, that's of cards graded, not of dollars spent. My roundabout $21 per card is probably, again, a little exaggerated because grading fees have come down this year, especially for competitors like CGC and SGC, and even PSA's run a lot of specials. But PSA definitely makes more per card than any of its competitors. So the actual dollar amount, the revenue amount that they have of market share is actually greater than number of cards graded. So that's something else to keep in mind when looking at this. So, I think that there are a lot of things that are that have to be looked at about the future of what's going to happen with grading. I've been through a lot of different market cycles, and that makes me old a little bit. But I remember, it's like I've seen the internet boom, I've seen the poker boom, I've seen the real estate boom, I've seen the daily fantasy boom, I've seen the cigar boom. I've seen lots of different booms, and I actually wanted to do an episode called After the Boom, because we're after the boom. And it's not, all this stuff is just not it's not negative. We are where we are, and we're talking about where we go from here. But one of the things about is the grading number sustainable? And the answer to me is, yeah, it might be, but not the way you think it is. What I mean by that is that most people think of the hobby as the people that you see at card shows or selling on eBay, and that those are the people that grade most of the cards. And in truth, those people are going to be grading less cards. There's no two ways about it. The value that is put into cards is not as much as it used to be by just grading, right? Like it's just that simple. I'm not. We can belabor that point, but all you have to do is just go on eBay and just see what it used to like the basic added value of PSA. So what has happened? I thought specifically of poker. The poker boom happened 2003 to 2008, and it started to fizzle out. But for one reason or the other, what happened was, poker in the U.S. really died out, but poker spread all over the world. The world's a big place and has lots of money. Yes, the U.S. has, it's the most vibrant economy in the world, but there are other economies. And PSA and all grading companies will seek to move and spread this all over the world. I'm pretty sure that PSA is opening offices in Europe, and they opened up Asia. There are quite a few companies that have been pushing in Asia. And from what I was told previously is that if it weren't for PSA's efforts in Asia, their numbers would already be down. So that if you're thinking about the Joe's card show or Joe's dealer, who's selling him, I don't know what, no, but I mean a card dealer, your card show, they've been grading less, and PSA has been they've been growing or whatever. How many did they grow by this year? What was the number? 13% over last year. So that's about 2 million cards. I forget the number on how many they got graded at GameStop. So GameStop's another example of those are people who weren't really grading cards before. They're getting them over the intimidation factor, and they're making it easier for them. Is that a long-term solution? No, but PSA's job and SGC and CGC, and God bless them, Beckett, their job is to find new people to grade cards. It's not always to whip the same horse to get us to grade. When I say us, most of the people who are watching this are U.S.-based hobbyists. And I think that, to stretch the analogy, they are beating a dead horse. We're going to grade less because there's less value in it. Sure, are there some people who are going to grade more? Sure, there are people who figured out pockets and different things. But on a whole, we're going to grade less. So they're going to go out there, they're going to find deals with companies like GameStop, or they're going to open offices in South America and in India or wherever, to see them working with the trading card companies to push certain different worlds. So I focused mostly on non-sports stuff, and I thought it was interesting, so non-sports was up 24% total, and 25% inside of PSA. So what does that really matter? It's just interesting to me. I want to show the December numbers because it's kind of some wonky data here, but non-sports is the only, is growing, not the only growing, but it's weird that, so basketball showed this huge uptick this year, and I can't really figure out why. My thought there is strictly with Victor Wembanyama, and that's sad that one person can actually literally move the market by 500,000 cards. Is that possible? How is that possible that basketball is up so much and the rest of it is not? So, baseball's up, but non-sports is up 25%. It's more than hockey. It's more than soccer. But I want to show you December's numbers real quick, and I'll come back to this. Is if we go and look at just December's numbers here, and we go into non-sport, which they'll show eventually. Non-sport's weird because sometimes they break it up with TCG. They combine it with TCG, and sometimes they leave it separate. So in the month of December, PSA graded 63,000, almost 64,000 non-sports cards. Now, they only graded 600,000 in a year. And I was showing you the graphic before where, non-sports was a little bit bigger than hockey and soccer. This past month, it was as big as both of them combined. So we'll go back and we'll look at the graphic for the year. And you'll see here that these were, 464,000, 400,000 versus 589. So could it be the non-sports special? Sure. I think non-sports is just like TCG. It's where the future has to be. Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, TV, movies, music. It's it's bringing in new collectors. The question is, recently somebody was posing to me, what's more like who's going to be the winner of the non-sport grading contest? Could CGC give PSA a run for their money, because they're giving them a run for their money in TCG. Again, it's not this runaway that we see in sports, and that really comes down to me the question of who's more likely to venture into cards from what they're collecting now? Comic and toy collectors, or who are people who use CGC already, or sport card collectors who use PSA already? And my guess is really the sports card. I've seen so many people come over from sports cards where they really enjoy card collecting, but they're kind of tired of the shenanigans in sports, and also just everybody wants a new problem. Everybody needs something new to collect, and pretty much everybody likes TV, music, or movies. And the response I get, I've done so many videos the last few months, opening packs, I do all these short videos. It's a different audience, and it's been interesting for me to get exposed to them. Is that the most common response all the time? And these are people who collect cards. I didn't know that card existed. I had no idea. And that doesn't really happen in sports. So I see that coming over to, and with TCG, that's kids, right? And that's what the kids are into. A little, what's up, fellow kids? So that's what I'm seeing. Like I said, we'll see pushes for partnerships, like GameStop, the global push everywhere, more focus on TCG and on non-sports. I would see even more non-sports autos. You see PSA trying to push Funkos, packs, tickets. They're trying to find a new vertical because they know that cards are a bit exhausted. Let me see, what else do I have in my notes here? I do think that, okay, so we can get into, I want to look at the January specials here. This is about the same thing, but having seen PSA's January specials, I think as we look forward, I think we're going to start to get a touch of an idea of where PSA is going with what 2025 is going to look like. So I'm not going to go deep into specials, but they have $18 special, $400 a card, 10 card minimum. And their turbo special, which you can get in 20 days, basically same deal, except $100 more. They get in 20 business days. Value Plus, I don't know why you would. Oh, this is just no card minimum. This is a 20 card minimum on the bulk turbo and 10 card on this. My real point here is that this special here, the value bulk special, is only $1 cheaper than their actual bulk special. Their normal bulk pricing. So is $1 off, it's barely 5%. It's not 5% off. Is that really a special? And I think that what they're pushing here is this 500, this $24.99, get your cards back in 20 business days, which shows that expedience is at a premium here. This is also the first month that, in a very long time, where we have not seen a $13.99, a $14.99 special. And the reasoning for that is some people will be like, okay, well, PSA has plenty of cards to grade, so they can raise the prices. That is a possibility. There are some other possibilities here. Let me move the logo over here. There you go. Make it easier for you guys to see. Take this off. Make me smaller. There you go. Listen, so my thought process here is that PSA has to be concerned about the value of their slabs. They have to balance this thing of their goal is to make enough, as much money as possible, right? And they have two levers to play with there. One is price, like volume, how many we grade, and the other is how much it costs. And there might be this point where we're better off raising our prices than we are dropping them because we're not going to get as many cards anyway. But we'd rather charge double but get 60% of the cards, right? That's more revenue, right? Like if you were grading $1 million at $1 a piece, but then you could grade 600,000 at $2 a piece. It's actually probably better, right? There's less cost. There's a lot of things to that. So their goal at the end of the day is not to grade as many cards as possible. Their goal is to make as much profit as possible. I know this sounds stupid, but sometimes we get lost in that when we see these gem rate numbers. We're like, they are the holy grail. This is all that matters. How can they make this glorified one-touch factory keep pumping these things out for a longer period of time, and to do it more and more? I don't think that's what they're after, and I think that we're going to see a change in that this year. Does that mean there will be no $14.99 specials, $13.99 specials? Could it even go lower? Yes, but no. Like, this is my guess, is that we will see some of that. And if you looked at the specials toward the end of the year, one of their last non-sports card specials had a declared value of $100. So what they're really after is low-end kind of set collectors. They're really going to try to put like a cap on that. So like, not to take cheap grading entirely out of the out of play, but I think they're going to play with this kind of, yes, they're going to give specials because they have to give specials to keep people paying their $150 PSA subscription. But I think they're going to play with this kind of time variance that we're seeing over here, the time variance authority or whatever it is, with this 20-day stuff, because they have the capacity. That's actually, to me, screams we have more capacity than we know what to do with, and that lowering the price is probably not the right way to do. What we want to do is go Disney. I know you're like, where is he going with this? We want to sell Fast Pass, right? But when they started with Fast Pass, it was like $10. It wasn't like now where it's like, here's triple Fast Pass for $200 a day. It was just like a little, and they have that super Fast Pass option of you can upgrade and get a card for $75. But for an affordable card, they're like, we can grade these as fast as we're getting them, but let's see if we can get some more money if people want it just slightly faster, or kind of the time. Like, I've sent some stuff in and it's really been like maybe 30 business days while it's there. So let's see if we can get people to pay whatever it is, 40% more for something that we're almost doing right now. And let's not drop the bottom out of it, because that's not good for us. It's not good for the hobby. We actually probably need to rein in. I think like as I said earlier, they're going to look for new ways to get more people grading. Sure. And they'll do deals at GameStop and through these different, like in Europe or maybe major bulk deals throughout the world. But for the kind of tried and true customer, they have to kind of like turn these dials. And maybe it's just me, but I looked at this here and I was like, I'm a little turned off by the 20 card minimum on this here, but I was like, man, I hate waiting for my cards from PSA. I don't know why. I hate it. And I'm like, as frugal as it comes to card grading, I don't know why. I'm not frugal in my real life. I can't tell you how many times I'm out to dinner and I'm like, this dinner costs more money than your card grading order, but you will just go nuts to not pay the money on card grading. I don't know why that is. But I was like, man, you know what? For $25 to get it in 4 weeks, fuck it. Like, yeah, I'll pay that. Part of it is just realizing that I shouldn't be as frugal with this stuff because I'm not in a factory trying to make widgets and make money. Yes, do I sell some cards to fund my hobby? Would it be nice to make a little money off of it? Sure, but this is not work, right? Like, there are plenty of people who do that, but if I want to make money working, I'll do other things. This is just, this is part of the fun for me. But I was like, man, it drives me nuts. So this is what I'm saying in short, is that this is a knob that they're playing with that gets me right in the, right in my heart, where I'm like, man, I just want my cards back faster. Can I just get my cards back faster? You want me to pay a little bit more? You want me to pay that fee on Uber Eats where it's like, hey, do you want your food in 45 minutes, or how about for a few bucks more? Would you, to get it in 25 minutes? And I think that's what they're going to do. I do think that there'll be more periodic specials, but they're going to play with things like this. And it's probably the right thing to do. And over time, like those numbers that we show on gem rate, like I can't say they're going to come down. Like like I said earlier, is like as most people perceive these numbers, they've already come down. Like where they used to originate from, they are definitely lower, and they're going to get even lower. If a gun to the head are we going to grade more cards in 2025 than we did in 24? Guns to the head, no. Right? Like at some point, it's going to tick in the other direction. I don't know. Maybe you could look at the S&P 500 and say that and be eventually wrong. It's like, no, we're going to infinitely grade more. I don't know. I don't know. Like I say that, I'm like, I really think it's a true coin toss, because all these companies have to continue to protect the integrity of the value of the slab. I have coined the term glorified one touch, and that's what these are for the most part. Like, most of the grades that we request from these companies are not that meaningful. Like the slight differences from an 8 or 9 are not as meaningful as we've made it out to be. So we're kind of paying for this nice holder that secures the card and has this opinion on it. On expensive cards, it matters. On expensive, vintage cards more than anything else, it matters. So listen, there's another path here, right? Where they can go, hey, what does it really cost us to grade a card? All right, we pay this person $30 an hour. They grade one card a minute. So that's 50 cents plus whatever. All in, we're in for $5. So you know what? I said before, they have two dials to turn: price and volume. Somebody could go the other way. I mean, CGC has tried. Like they're as low as $9 to grade a card at CGC right now, with all the different memberships and stuff. Could I see CGC going to, like $8? Yeah, but no. I mean, like for non-sports, nobody pays a premium for they don't really pay at all for the CGC slab. Like it's almost almost like a 2-grade difference to PSA. So it's like there's practically no reason other than you want your card graded to grade at CGC. Could that change? Absolutely. I hope it does. You're actually better off for value-wise grading it at SGC, but you're not really that great off there as well. So, the reasons why we grade, the opinion, the protection, I don't know. Let's see the rest of this data. TCG and non-sport flat, CGC showed an improvement. So, SGC had an increase. So I don't know if that's non-sports or just, I think they combine them. I don't care about the gem rate. Like, I don't understand. Like, the name of the site is gem rate, but I don't really care. This is by category. Yeah, I'm still blown away by 64,000 non-sports cards in the month of December versus 63 combined for these two other categories. Like, I think there's something going on there. Share by category, they don't really break out non-sport there. This shows like how much modern shit is getting graded. Like, and I think that's probably another big factor here, which is like you hear a lot of wax fatigue right now. And I ran a poll recently on, I was just messing with YouTube about asking questions about, what's the biggest, problem in the hobby. And the most selected thing is that wax prices are just too high. I think that stems from everybody loves to rip. I think kind of everybody got in by ripping. And they're just too unaffordable. And like the stuff that you can afford, you can't hit anything in. So like, if wax fatigue truly sets in modern stuff, that could be devastating, right? But I don't know. I don't grade much anything from the 20. I mean, I my latest collection is actually 2020s, which is Mandalorian. But most non-sports cards are kind of older, and that's not the growing part. I guess it's not where they make their money, right? 60%. 3 out of 5 cards are are less than 4 years old. That just seems really susceptible to issues. And like maybe Panini getting out of, sports, Burnett getting out of Marvel, that actually might have like this kind of whiplash effect. Like Panini put out, like they didn't care this year about what they did, meaning like, let's make kabooms. Put a shit ton of them in there. Put down tests, put a shit ton of them in there. They don't care. They just want to sell boxes this year. They don't care about what happens next year. So, the number of cards that might be perceived as hits this year coming out of Panini product may be way higher than the past, which could push up some of the stuff. But I think, obviously the new stuff drives the market. So if there's fatigue there, it becomes a lot of problems. I don't really care about the gem rate. Like, I think that's more about how companies compete with each other. Like the idea that like somehow CGCs has a lower gem rate on TCG than like whatever. I don't fucking care. Like I really don't. Like I just think it's kind of silly stuff. Here are all the sets. Yeah, by the way, I was saying earlier, like, it'd be crazy if one player could move the entire market. But that's like the difference between this year and last year in basketball is with Victor Wembanyama. And they graded 400,000 of his cards this year. It's basically how much that they were up this year. And it's just 232,000 CJ shirt. Like, look at all this stuff here that is a disaster waiting to happen. It's why, again, I'm a non-sports guy, and I came from sports. It's like the moment, if you care at all about grading and population reports, the moment you stare at a non-sports card population report, you're like, wait a minute, what's the catch? How are there only, 3,000 Luke Skywalker, whatever, 1977s graded? Like, there should be the same number as the Wayne Gretzky. I'm like, nope, not at all. Look at the top fucking graded cards. How are we still grading? We're grading 10,000 Upper Deck Griffies a year. There's been 115,000 upgrade, but still, right? 115,000 ever of Ken Griffey Upper Deck graded. They graded 40,000 Victor Wembanyama prisms this year. 40,000. That's a joke. People are crazy. You're just so like you're setting money on fire. You need a 14, and you need a PSA 14 to make money. And if you're buying these things, go look at a player name called Shaquille O'Neal back in the day. And you tell me that Wembanyama is significantly better than him in his day. And his cards are valueless because they made too many of them. Pokemon. Interesting to see that they graded 125,000 of the 1999 set. That's pretty cool, right? Like that's, if I were touching Pokemon, someday I want somebody to come and pitch me Pokemon. As like, I don't know enough about it. I think I just missed it by the age group. Top TCG subjects, it's all except for One Piece, Monkey D. Luffy. It's all Pokemon. I wish they would do non-sports, but they don't because we get no love. Yeah, I mean, I look at this stuff and it's like, so again, we talk about non-sports cards. So the 1999 Pokemon Charizard Holo, they graded more. It graded 14,000 this year. They have almost graded more of that card than of all of the 1977 Star Wars set. It's crazy. Again, I'm a firm believer that non-sports cards is the future. It's the only thing that is undiscovered country at this point. And yeah, another question would be, in the up and coming year, what, will there be like another grading company to come out of this, or if something is going to topple, what will topple? Here are all the top sets. I mean, again, this doesn't mean shit to me. I mean, baseball, there's a reason they call this stuff baseball cards. When everybody talks about cards, it's like baseball cards. I don't collect baseball cards. I own basically none. I did when I was a kid, but still, the pejorative term is baseball cards, and they're the people that are probably not going anywhere, and that'll just be in the bubble forever. Oh, this makes me sick. Tops now, grading 15,000 tops now. It's like fucking photocopies. It's like, go down to Kinko's, make me 10,000 of these, and let's put them in fucking glorified. Yeah, you get my point. Most graded. Oh, this is SGC. Oh, we're in SGC now. All right. Well, I love SGC, but I hate them at the same time. I love the product, but hate that they have no value. They graded 43,000 Michael Jordan cards in 2024. I want to do a video on ComC. Go on ComC and look at the majority of like your kind of run-of-the-mill Michael Jordan cards. They're basically valueless. I have probably 100 Michael Jordan cards I was going to send there. It's like, it is a wasteland there. Here are 200 of them, race to the bottom. They graded 14,000 Willie Mays, 21,000 Manals. I like that on some level. We're still grading some of the. All right. Well, that's the data for there. So let me go through my notes here. Is there anything that I left out? I don't know. $400 million. Like, that money's got to come from somewhere. And for the last couple of years, I've been hearing that the economy is part of the reason why the card market hasn't been good. I think that's absolute horseshit. I do. I think it's absolute horseshit. This is like, some people will get like political about it. Like, it's not political. It's like the stock market is up. They will tell you when inflation goes up that actual physical things like cards and collectibles will actually go up in value because, hey, $1 is worth less than it used to be. Chicken is $6 instead of $4. It's like, well, then that card that was $20 should feel less. So it's horseshit. And I actually think the economy is truly may tank in the way. So I don't know. How does that affect the number of cards that graded and get, like, what happens if there's a panic? Like, PSA is a good, like, there's a difference in judging PSA as a customer of theirs versus if I were an investor or an owner of their company, which they're a privately held company, Collectors Universe now, so it wouldn't matter. But like, I think they're probably a very smart company if I wanted to own the product. As a customer, I'm not hugely fond of the way they handle things, and I think that they know that. I mean, I don't know. Like, I've learned over time that smart companies figure a way out. Meaning, like, I think the card market, like the desire for grading in the rank and file is drastically reduced. I see it all over the place. Like, I mean, grading has become a tax that is necessary, but it also is starting to slip a little bit because we've created such artificial scarcity on certain cards that, like, hey, if it's an out of 25 such and such, like, I kind of know the value of it, and yeah, I would like a 10 over a 9, but like, most people just want the card when it comes to scarce cards. It's these kind of like ubiquitous cards that the grade seems to matter, but they're too plentiful for it to matter anyway. So I know that's a lot of holy bully, but like, what I mean is that, like, the necessity to grade as many cards as we've graded is not there. It's just not. But smart companies figure out a way out of it. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll get into Funkos. They're going to get into comics. But card grading, man, I just can't see it. I actually think the best move for all these companies is not to drop the price, but is to raise the price. Like, I remember prior to the pandemic, like, I didn't grade any cards like for a year or maybe 2 years almost after I started collecting again. I was intimidated. And to this day, I still am. Am I doing it right and whatever? And I've graded quite a few times. I don't know where the hell I was going with that, but yeah, lost my train of thought. Old man at this point. I see that number. Oh, I know where I was going with that. Is that, like, before, when I first got into it, it was like bulk grading was like when we get to it. And I could see that coming back where, like I mentioned earlier, with the timing. Like, I think playing with the timing is probably the smartest thing they can do. And that just make it really exorbitant with the prices. Like, hey, if you want $12, $13, $14 grading, it's 6 months. And, that's, so it can be $100 and then 6 months. And that's what they'll do. The thought there is that I think that they look this thing like a factory now. They don't want it sitting on a shelf. They want to just turn it over. They want to get it in. They want to get it out. So I can see that they have to run at capacity. Actually, where that comes into play is that if they're running kind of near capacity, meaning like if they're like, some days we have all the cards we need to grade, and then some days we have a little bit fewer, and then they take those that are sitting on the shelf and they grade those on those days. That's how it would work. So I could see that certain amount. And like I said, it would be limited. I still don't understand why they have not integrated the set registry with grading, because they would say, hey, listen, if you're on the set registry and you want to grade, these cards, you can do it at this price. And I think that would happen. But getting back to could I see somebody emerging? Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I could. I mean, like, we're getting into territory. So certainly we're headed to territory. It was like, somebody's got to take a shot. Like, if somebody bought Beckett and took a real shot, but I just don't see a lot of money being poured into this space right now. I don't see like a private equity company going, what's really going to be growing is trading cards, because the market has not, took off, and then people put a lot of money into all different ideas, and most of them did not pan out. But yeah, that's what it would take. Like, I've always said, like, if you brought me into SGC or anywhere else, like, the way I would beat PSA, if they told me this was possible, like, I would crack out 200 PSA slabs and grade them myself and show how PSA is inconsistent. That's the only way that PSA can be beaten, is that if somebody takes them on head on and says, your shit doesn't work, your stuff is it's too inaccurate, it's 20% inaccurate, but our stuff is 99% accurate, that's how somebody could beat them. Outside of that, I don't know what's going to change, right? Like, if PSA, like, one type of predatory business practice is we lower our prices so much so that we run our competitors out of business or we buy them, like I did with SGC. So if Beckett goes out of business, they own SGC, and nobody cares about CGC cards for a lot of what they do. They could just jack up the prices and be like, we're the only game in town. And then, CGC could come in so low that like there has to be more of a disparity. Like either somebody has to break the public perception that PSA has the best card opinion, or there has to be such a huge disparity in the price that it becomes worth it to grade somewhere else, right? And that's what I don't know what will happen. But man, $400 million, and Nat Turner's a smart guy. Yeah, like I keep telling people, hey, did you watch that interview he did with Neo? And I'm like, I thought it was a really telling interview. Some of the things were just like, you could see that there were certain ideas that were keeping him up at night. And man, I don't know. I have a pretty good gut read on these type of things over my long track record in different businesses. What I'd tell you is that I think he's super smart, and I think he's going to figure it out. But I think kind of just standard card grading is pretty fucked. It just got away from us, right? It just got away from us. Like we didn't need to grade this many cards, and we're still on this train that like, we're buying into our own bullshit to an extent. All right, like because we've been doing it, like grading cards, we should keep doing it because we're on the inside. We can't see it from the outside. That's my main attempt is to try to take a step back, look at this, and go, what does this look like from the outside? And yeah, I mean, from the outside, it looks like I said is that if you talk to people, it's like, hey, I cannot make money grading a considerable amount of the cards that I used to grade. So I have to be much more careful about what I grade. And even then, there isn't as much money into it. And that cycle actually has been repeating, right? The term I just told you, you're like, that's not new. Hearing that I can't grade as many cards as I used to make money, and it's less and less. But it keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And PSA and some of these other companies have been really good. Like TCG, like if it wasn't for TCG, they couldn't do what they do, right? Like TCG probably either pays the bills or is the profit in PSA when you look at it. And CGC, if TCG disappeared, it'd be curtains for them. Actually, believe it or not, the company that is the most secure here is SGC, but they're run by PSA, meaning that like their market share is not going to really grow. But those people who grade with them really aren't going anywhere. Just a thought. I don't know. I've been on this kick for years of saying that this is just not sustainable. And we look at the number of cards graded this year, and I say 400 million, and I do that as a little bit of a clickbaity thing to get you to click on this and like and subscribe. And you should comment. You should tell me. I'm sure you disagree with me on something I've said through these 43 minutes. And I don't know why I don't ask for comments earlier. But tell me where I'm wrong. I know. I mean, listen, I do my best here. I told you I was doing that clickbait thing, but I'm not at all. Like all this is like hours of thought into this process to say, okay, this hobby that I've really enjoyed, have a lot of friends who are involved with it, where's it going? And this number is, we don't get these type of numbers from eBay. But, the amount of money that we spend on shipping, grading, taxes, and eBay fees is a lot of fucking money that doesn't go anywhere near a card. And then how much money is wasted on wax and breakers. Like, there's so little left for the card ecosystem. It's an issue. But I don't know. Every year I keep saying, I'm like, am I Chicken Little? The sky's falling. I'm not saying that. Like, I'm just saying, like, grading is due for some sort of correction. Like, they've done a really good job of pulling rabbits out of the hat. So that's what would put you on the back end of saying, well, they pulled so many rabbits out of their house. going to Asia, getting in GameStop, pushing TCG. Are they going to not be able to find another rabbit to pull out of the hat in 2025? We'll just have to wait and see. I know me personally, like I grade pretty carefully, not the cards that I actually like. I did a video not that long ago where I was like, here are the 23 next cards I'm sitting in. All I got were comments like, this one's got a corner here, that one's got this, and I'm like, fuck you. They're perfect. I didn't even look at them, but I meant like I'm pretty careful about the cards I select. That the risk is really small, meaning I grade cards that most people don't know exist and that they're fans of, and then an Eric Cartman card where it's like, hey, if I get an 8 on that, I'm gonna be fine. Like I don't know why. Like I mentioned earlier, like it fucking matters. If I got a 9, I could select off for $65 instead of $40 or $25. Like it matters at all in my life. But I think these are the lies that we tell ourselves that make this hobby fun. I don't know, but $400 million. Yeah, I mean, I wonder what the average. Love to know that, which is the average dollar amount spent to grade a card was in 2024 versus 2023. Like I'd like to know the amount of card revenue. I would almost guarantee you that PSA is flat on card revenue year over year. Like I would think there's a 13% drop in revenue per slab over 2023. So like anybody who's like, and remember, PSA is in the profit business, not the card grading business. Like I think that's why I started this off by saying that these numbers are looked at like the CPI print in Wall Street or the Fed decision, but they're not. They're just this random number. We don't even know if it could be manipulated. That's just besides the point. But I don't know. It'll be another interesting year, and I have learned to not. I don't know. I get so many different opinions on how people value their collections. And if you have like a sports collection that's much more liquid, it's easy. In the non-sports cards world, it's very difficult to know. I just take my collection and I basically say, what do I think the buy it now price is? And I drop 75 to 80% off of it and be like, okay, that's how I should assess it. But I'm not selling it. I don't know why I do that. Like, it's just keeping score. I used to, like I mentioned poker earlier. It's like, I don't think you can play poker for pretzels. Meaning that, like, the game isn't fun if there aren't stakes. And that's the same way I look at the hobby. It's not about the money, but it's like, those are the stakes involved. Like, if I buy a card for $1, it feels different than if I buy a card for $1,000. You know what I mean? Like, I like, neither are going to have a direct impact on my life, how I live it. Maybe cumulatively, you buy enough $1,000 cards. That's a different story. I'm going to do a video about how much money I spent on cards last year. They had an exercise with a friend where I was like, how much do you think you spent? How much do I? I'm like, I spent quadruple what I thought I spent. So there's that. I don't know. I think that's going to do it for me now. I don't really do these super long videos, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning right now, and I was like, all right, I'm just watching YouTube. Why don't I go make some YouTube instead of watching YouTube? So I don't know. Like, subscribe. If you're not subscribing, you're just stealing, right? That's the way I look at it. Are you a thief? Then who stole the stars out of the sky and put them in your eyes? It's a different line from a different thing. It's a pickup line. But that's going to do it for me. I'm going to go find Big Al, and we're going to get ready to watch some football tomorrow. I'm not sports cards, and I am.